Welcome to Bloomington Today. I'm Kaylin Cockerill. Thanks for joining us. Several weeks ago on Bloomington Today, we brought you news of an upcoming event featuring one well-known blue ribbon baker. This was the scene at Civic Plaza on Monday, May 23rd, as more than 200 people gathered in recognition of Older Americans Month. Human Services pulled out all the stops this year, bringing in a very special older American who happens to be a Minnesota native, not to mention a Tonight Show Jay Leno correspondent.
At this time, I think the reason we're really all here is Marjorie Johnson, a person who I think's figured out a way to grow younger instead of growing older. She's someone who's really been around, and boy can she bake, and she really can, and the number of blue ribbons won and the way that she has really achieved national prominence is wonderful. And she's going to come up and she's going to give us all lessons, and specifically this mayor.
Residents had lunch, then watched Marjorie teach Mayor Winstead a thing or two about ginger snap baking.
Then we're going to put the molasses. And so hold this and put all that in there and get every bit out.
Yeah. All of it.
Yeah. Boy, if you do any rest in my cookbook, get everything out. You pay for those ingredients, so let's not
use
waste
it all.
them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The hour was filled with tricks and tips from Johnson's decades of baking expertise.
I hope you're getting all this.
Gotta write a book.
Yeah, I should write a book about it. And that's the other thing. You know what? This book that I wrote, I'll have to show them. This book that I wrote says Blue Ribbon Baking with Marjorie. Well, it's for, everybody who likes to bake will like it, because who doesn't like good recipes? But the other thing is, if you don't know anything about baking, that's you, I guess. And you know what? I tell people that if they read the directions, and the only thing they have to measure accurately, once you put the flour in, you take the knife or spatula, and everything's level, and then everything will turn out perfect, because it won a blue ribbon. It's all balanced. There is no reason why it couldn't be perfect the first time.
We did good.
Yes, didn't we?
We.
Marjorie had copies of her cookbook, The Road to Blue Ribbon Baking with Marjorie, available for purchase and autograph. It was President John F. Kennedy that began the tradition of setting aside the month of May in honor of our country's older Americans back in 1963. Every president since then has continued the great tradition. On a given day, there can be dozens of children taking their turns on the monkey bars or swings at area playgrounds. At the City of Bloomington, we take playground safety seriously. Playgrounds are meant to be run on, jumped on, and expected to withstand the inevitable roughhousing that will occur on them. The 6 certified playground safety inspectors on staff embrace that fact, while making it their personal goals to keep all 54 of Bloomington's playgrounds as safe as possible.
There are 2 things we try to accomplish with our program. One, and certainly the most important, is the safety of the children that play on the playground, whether it's in one of our city parks or it happens to be at one of the 10 elementary schools. We want to protect those children and give them a challenging but safe environment in which to play. The second thing that is important is the city's liability related to playgrounds and potential playground injuries. And we certainly want to do everything we can to minimize that liability should a child be injured. So if we have safe playgrounds, hopefully both of those things will be accomplished.
The average lifespan of a playground is between 15 and 20 years, depending on use, before it'll need to be updated or replaced. The city has had a playground inspection program in place for the last 30 years, and all the safety inspectors are working toward one common goal.
We have those inspectors that are out there checking things all of the time. We're taking calls from residents if they notice anything. We want people to feel comfortable letting us know. And I think that over those 30 plus years, we're very fortunate in saying we have not had any serious injuries. In other words, injuries serious enough that it might have caused a lawsuit or something like that to happen. And certainly the liability of the city is important, but most of all, we just haven't had serious injuries on our playgrounds. And I think our program is a big part of that happening.
All new playground equipment installed in our parks goes through a rigorous playground safety audit. And the playground at Westwood Elementary School underwent that safety audit just a few weeks ago. A playground inspector will first inspect the scene for obvious problems, like broken glass, trash, and ruined equipment.
Look down, look up. I like to use these gauges and probes here and check openings, and what we're looking for is head entrapments. When I use these, anything that a little kid can get into and not get out of. So you want to make sure that this torso probe, if it fits through an opening with 50 pounds of pressure or less, that this head probe can follow. Here's an example, and it can be deceiving. You know, you got to be able to check any opening you have. So if this goes through, this has to go through, and it does pass cleanly through there. Same with this cargo net. Some of our playgrounds have smaller cargo nets. Real firm cable inside. When you're hanging by one, it's made to hold its shape or even can constrict on you. So again, if the torso probe goes through, the head probe must follow.
Also checked are different pieces of equipment particular to each playground, whether it be swings, slides, ladders, or railings.
And it's important that no matter how creative these kids can get when they're out playing, that these areas are safe for them, and they're safe from falls or any kind of entrapment hazards or anything that can possibly happen out there. We want to minimize the risk.
To ensure all findings after an inspection are recorded and stored properly, advancements in technology have allowed playground safety inspectors to access inspection forms for each of the 54 playgrounds, accessible on an iPhone application, saving time and keeping the inspectors out of the office and in our area parks. We brought you news a few weeks back about funds available for community gardens just starting out. Bloomington Public Health has teamed up with the nonprofit organization Gardening Matters, and they're happy to announce 8 organizations in Bloomington, Edina, and Richfield that are the recipients of more than $14,000 in grants, thanks to the statewide Health Improvement Program, also known as SHIP. If you're a community member looking for gardening opportunities, you're encouraged to participate in the gardens provided by the following grant recipients: Bethany Covenant Church and House of Prayer Lutheran Church in Richfield, KTC Minneapolis Tibetan Buddhist Center in Edina, Cedar Crest Church, Episcopal Community Services, St. Mark's United Church of Christ, St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, and Normandale Community College, all located in Bloomington. To qualify for funds, the organizations had to agree to reach out to those in need by donating 20% of what is grown to food shelves or other local organizations that target low-income people that may be at risk for chronic disease. The hope is that this small investment in infrastructure will yield big outcomes for individuals and community health for years to come. If you'd like to get involved with one of the 8 community gardens, please contact Nadia with Gardening Matters at 612-821-2358. It's now time for a short break. When we come back, we'll have 2 guests stopping by to tell us about a unique exhibit coming to Civic Plaza. To all you history buffs, you won't want to miss this one. Stay with us.
There are dogs, and then there are canine dogs. Come watch the U.S. Police Canine Association Region 18 Dog Trials, June 12th through the 14th in Woodbury.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we're now joined by Larry Granger from the Bloomington Historical Society and Brian Wilson from the city's Human Rights Commission. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks for being here. Well, today we're here to talk about an event that happened in 1943 where a group of people risked their lives to help Jews escape to freedom, and that rescue coined a name, Boat Lift 1943. Larry, why don't you give us some background on that event?
The event is part of sort of midpoint of World War II, when the Nazis became aggressive and trying to round up all Jews, which previously they may not have had bothered with, and send them to concentration camps. And this was true in Denmark. Denmark had been occupied by the Nazis since 1940, and it was fairly benign occupation because the Nazis needed Denmark agricultural and seafood production. But finally, in October 1943, the word went out that all Jews in Denmark were to be sent to concentration camps. And the response of the Jewish people was looking at their Danish neighbors, because they were all considered neighbors, and their neighbors said, we're going to get you to Sweden, across the ocean to a neutral country. And consequently, in a very short time, 99% of the Jews in Denmark were ferried to the shores, hidden in fishing boats, and sent to Sweden. It's the operation that you described as Operation Boat Lift. And it took place in fishing boats, anything that would float, including an Olympic rower from 1936 who rowed for Denmark in the Olympics. And he rowed Jews to Sweden one by one. Wow. So this is an event that's known by very few people, but it's the largest mass resistance to Germans in World War II.
Wow. Well, to spread some awareness about, this is an awesome event that took place, and to educate people about Boat Lift 1943, the City of Bloomington, the Human Rights Commission has teamed up with the Bloomington Historical Society to offer an exhibit that's going to be open to the public. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that is?
When Larry first came and presented the opportunity for this exhibit to be brought to Bloomington, the 20 panels showing the events that took place preceding the occupation all the way through the liberation of Denmark, and the accompanying film of Judith Meisel's life, Talk for Alt, Survival of the Human Spirit. And the film of her life, reenactment, starts from her childhood. She was actually born in Lithuania of Jewish parents, and she happened to be a blonde, blue-eyed little girl. And she spent a significant portion of her childhood in the Kovno ghetto, and in 1944, she and her family were shipped from the ghetto to Denmark to the Stutthof concentration camp. And she was able to escape the concentration camp and was assimilated into the Danish community and lived for almost a year of her life, I believe, in a small town outside of Danzig. And she and her sister both posed as Lithuanian Catholic girls. And they were offered odd-time jobs at the Wehrmacht station in Danzig and survived doing that until Denmark was liberated in May of 1945. But the film, Talk for Alt, tells of her life, and it was significant for us in the Human Rights Commission because it got to the very basic premise of human rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and survival of the human spirit. And we just felt as though this was a story that should be brought and given as opportunity to everyone that could possibly come and view these 20 panels, the story they tell, and see this documentary reenactment film of her life. As it turns out, Judith moved to the United States after Denmark was liberated, she became very active in the American 1960s civil rights movement, and now lives in California. And her story is one that should be told by every survivor of the Holocaust period right now, and those stories are diminishing at a very rapid rate. And one of the things that really struck me about her story was an experience I had at visiting Dachau in Germany. And on the entry gate to Dachau is an iron gate that says, Arbeit macht frei, and simply, work makes you free, which is a total lie. And the first thing you see when you leave Dachau is a sign that depicts the Judas Meisel life story. And never again shall something like this happen. And her life is just tells a story in a fantastic way about that.
It's one to talk about.
That human spirit of survival. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, you had said panels. What exactly is the exhibit going to be? We're going to be watching this documentary film. Talk a little bit more specific about what residents are in store for if they come in. Is it something that's going to be here, or is it going to be over at the Historical Society?
Well, it's going to be here starting 26th through June 8th, and it will be out in the concourse. It'll be 20 panels, 20 large panels, that will tell you the story of Jews in Denmark going back to the 1600s and how they, in effect, were accepted as neighbors, intermarried, and so forth, and then the events of October 1943 and what the response was. Many photos, many newspaper accounts, many first-person accounts of what happened. And those Jews who did not make it to Sweden were sent to a concentration camp, but they were not sent to a death camp because the Danish government had negotiated with Germans. So they actually received relatives as visitors. So the entire story pulls together the fact that a whole nation of Denmark rallied together with their Jewish neighbors and said, in one extent, we're going to get them out of here, and if we can't get them out of here, we're going to find a way to protect them through negotiating with the Germans. So those 20 panels tell an incredible story. People coming to view it should spend at least an hour reading it and absorbing it, because the story is very powerful. The accompanied documentary tells the story of several things. It tells the story of a first-hand account of what the Holocaust was about and how painful and how terrible that was, and then the survival of the human spirit by Judith and her sister in being able to finally get free, and how they were welcomed into Denmark, and from there how they came to North America to give back to people, how they would give back. And so there's a cumulative story there that goes to all the way from how a nation accepts everyone as neighbors and will stand up for their neighbors, and how it will influence people who come in to go forth and do good things elsewhere in the name of human rights.
Absolutely. Well, it's a story that I don't think that many probably know. And my next question to both of you is, what would you, above and beyond just being a completely compelling thing, how would you get residents to take the time to come out and look at something like this, just to take an hour or two out of their day for this? It's absolutely worth it. What would you tell residents to kind of bring it home?
I would say this is a chapter in our lives and in mankind where, as the sign at Dachau said, never again. And all of us should really listen to those individual stories of what actually took place during that time. So it's something that's educational and again just gets at those very fundamental human rights that we all have grown to love and cherish, and some of us, as Judith, led a life that was horrific in a lot of ways, but she survived to tell a story, and it's a story that we should all listen to and remember.
Absolutely.
I think Bloomington Historical Society has been around since 1963. And we obviously, our core purpose is to tell the story of Bloomington over several hundred years. But Bloomington people don't live just in Bloomington. Bloomington people are also residents of the state, of the nation, and the world. So the context of what was going on around the world during this time period is very important to give to people. And a lot of it goes to the statement that many of you know and have heard, and that is, history ignored leads to history repeated. Now in this case, obviously the evil part of this, the Holocaust, is something you want to keep in mind so it does not be repeated, although it has. But the second part of this, the good parts of history need to be repeated, and that's what the boat lift is about. And that's what the individual spirit of Holocaust survivors and how they gave back to the world are something to be remembered by all of us. So even out of the worst can come good, but good needs to be repeated and brought forward into the future, and it needs to be brought forward in a way that everybody accepts everybody else as a neighbor. Absolutely. Not as somebody different.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful.
I think we would both say take this opportunity and not only visit and view the panels, but if at all possible, be here for the filming of Talk for Alt, which is at 7 p.m. on Friday, June the 3rd. Which will be preceded by a welcoming and a period of light refreshment. So it's, if at all possible, everyone should do their utmost to attend and remember.
Yeah, definitely get the full effect. Well, great. Well, we'd like to thank Larry and Brian for joining us. And again, this is a free event. There's no prior registration that is needed. For a complete list of details, dates, times, visit the city's website. It's now time for a short break. We'll be right back.
Yes, ready.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Welcome back, everyone. The City Attorney's Office and the Bloomington Police Department are teaming up to put a stop to the issuing of checks that contain no funds. With help from the Financial Crime Services, or FCS, the city has implemented a criminal worthless check diversion program to recover full restitution from individuals who issue checks that come back as account closed or non-sufficient funds.
What we really wanted to do was to help the businesses and the citizens in Bloomington have a way to recover the money they were losing from the bad checks. In the grand scheme of things, or all the crimes we investigate, it's relatively a low priority. Not that it isn't important, but maybe not as important as some other crimes we investigate. So this is an opportunity for us to still help investigate some of those cases that are a little more serious in nature, the higher dollar value ones. But the lower value we can put into this program through FCS, and they will do a lot of the legwork, a lot of the investigation work for us, and then work on collecting the money owed the business, and also to put the offenders into a program to help them break that habit.
While checks are being used less and less, the crime potential is still there. This program costs nothing to take part in. If you or your business would like more information on the Criminal Worthless Check Diversion Program, visit the city's website. From there, navigate to the police page and you'll find additional information under programs and events. This year's 8th annual Women of the Workplace, or WOW Awards, was a great success. The Bloomington Chamber of Commerce holds the yearly award ceremony to honor individuals who have contributed to the success and empowerment of women. Take a look at former Bloomington Mayor Coral Houle receive her award for Women of the Year. Houle is a civic leader and volunteer for both the private sector businesses and nonprofit organizations around Bloomington.
It's an honor for me to make this presentation today. Gentlemen, these are the women of our world. These are not women out working. These are the ones that I think we can all and have learned from. Coral, it is a great privilege for me to make this presentation to you. You are a person, it was said earlier that these women in the room are mentors to other women in the room. Well, I have to tell you that Coral has been a mentor of mine, so you're a mentor of many, many more. Coral, it's with an honor that I present this Woman of the Year to you.
Thank you so much for this award. Women have always played a big, big part of my life. I have said when I was brought into the world in Little Kettle River, Minnesota, I had 2 great-grandmas, 2 grandmas, 9 aunties, and my mother, of course, and my sister.
There are 2 other award categories for the WOW Achievement Awards, including the Community Spirit Award that went to Deborah Krieg, and Volunteer of the Year that went to Laurel Borger. Congratulations to all. For all you women in the area looking to brush up on your golf game, the City of Bloomington has the perfect opportunity for you to do that. The city has partnered with the PGA and Play Golf America to hold free women golf clinics at Highland Greens Golf Course. The clinics will take place June 5th, 10th, and 15th from 3 to 5 p.m. Registration is limited. Interested ladies are invited to call Highland Greens at 952-563-8868 to reserve your spot. Highland Greens is located at 102nd Street and Normandale Boulevard, open daily during the summer from 6 a.m. to dark. The course offers 2 separate 9-hole par 3 courses. Well, that's all the time we have for today. To get more information on city projects, parks, road construction, and events, visit the city's website. To check out past Bloomington Today shows or other city productions, visit Bloomington's YouTube channel, accessible right from the city's homepage. That and so much more is online right now at www.ci.bloomington.mn.us. If Facebook or Twitter isn't your thing, sign up for eSubscribe to have updates sent right to your email or cell phone. This is Bloomington Today, a presentation of the City of Bloomington's Communications Division. I'm Kaylin Cockriel. Thanks for joining us.